Hello YouTube, welcome to a brand new video. My name is Prince Meyson. Today we are doing something different. We're going to be talking about the Canon EOS R5. I'll be telling you why I think about this camera as a portrait and beauty photographer, even though I know this camera has been out for like a long time and there are a ton of reviews online. I just want to give you guys my thoughts and my opinions about this camera. I mean, I've had this camera for, I would say, well over a year right now, and I've been using it for that period of time, so I can, tell you how this camera works and, yeah, just give you the lowdown if you're looking to get a camera like the Canon EOS R5. But before we get into today's video, if you're a photographer that is looking to get a camera like the Canon EOS R5, or maybe you already have a camera that shoots amazing images and you're just trying to take your retouching to a whole new level, check out my beauty retouch masterclass. I'll put a link in the description below. All you have to do is click it and go register for the class. The prices are all the way down right now, so definitely check that out and be one of the first people to cop that and take your retouching to a whole new level. So let's talk about the Canon EOS R5. What do I think about this camera after using this camera for such a long time? I feel like we can break it down into different parts. The first thing I want to talk about is the ergonomics. How does the camera feel when you hold it? I'm here to tell you it feels fantastic. Now, people are different. What feels good for me might not feel great for you, but I feel like Canon has been making cameras for the longest time and they've figured out how to make a camera feel really good in your hands. Now, before I started using the Canon EOS R5, I was using the Sony A7R Mark III, and that camera is an amazing camera. It's something that if you go out to get right now, the prices are down. I think it's about 45 megapixels or somewhere around that right now. And it's just a beautiful camera all around, but I didn't really like how the camera felt. It felt a little bit boxy to me, and coming from somebody who's used the Canon, all his life, and I'm used to all the curves, you feel me? I really appreciated this camera the first time I held it. Now, I'm somebody that always uses my camera with a grip, so I got this camera with a grip. Yes, it's a bit bulky, but not as bulky as like the Canon 5D Mark IIIs or the Canon 5D Mark IVs. It is just perfect for me. That's why I absolutely love this camera. Your hands are in the right place. There's a little bit of heft to the camera, which I actually really like. I'm not one of those people that would say, oh, I really love cameras that are light, but there are different cameras for different occasions. If you are traveling, then maybe you want to go light, but I feel like this camera does everything for me. So I really love how the camera feels in the hands. But let's not talk about how the camera feels right now, because that's really subjective. It just depends on you and what you want. Let's talk about things that matter to every photographer. Let's talk about image quality. The image quality out of this camera is totally amazing. Like, bruh, it just mind-blowing how clean this camera is. Now, I've shot this camera at really high ISOs and it's just very easy to recover details, but it's not something that is new to this camera, to be very honest. If you're using any camera from like the past 5 years, you're going to get amazing quality. That's how much the technology has grown right now. So it's not something that is just specific to this camera. But if you're spending over $3,500 on a camera, I think that's about the price right now, then you should definitely be getting image quality that is amazing. And the image quality out of this camera is definitely bonkers. Now, 45 megapixels is a lot, and we'll get into that in the later parts of the video, but if it's something that works for you, let's say you're a portrait photographer, you are not a wedding photographer that's going out to shoot thousands and thousands of images, you're a portrait photographer, a commercial photographer, you plan your shoots, you shoot them the exact way you want to shoot them, and you don't come back with like a ton of files, then I feel like you really appreciate how beefy these files are, because the quality of this camera is just amazing. Now let's talk about another thing, which is the autofocus of this camera. Now, as a portrait photographer, I really do not think I need too much when it comes to autofocus. Like, I'm not in the studio, just holding my shutter down and telling the model to move and move all over the place, and the camera is like struggling to get. Nah, I'm not one of those photographers. Typically what you do is just pose and I take a picture. You pose and I take a picture. You pose and I take a picture. That's how it works for me. And the eye autofocus with that is amazing. Now, I did have the eye autofocus with my Sony A7R III, and it was nice, especially when I was using the native Sony lenses. But ever since then, technology has moved up, up a bit, and the eye autofocus right now is just amazing. Now, to show you how great the autofocus is, I used to use the Canon EF 100mm macro lens. Yes, the 100mm macro lens. It was an L lens, and with the Canon 5D Mark III and even the Canon 5D Mark IV, the autofocus on that lens was so slow. It was annoying. It was just too slow. And I always did not like that lens. I love the lens for the quality. I love the fact that most of my images are shown on that lens. That is just an amazing lens when it comes to the quality and how it looks. It gives me this three-dimensional feel, especially when my subject is well lit. But the autofocus was just bad. And now comes the RF cameras, and the autofocus is just amazing. All I have to do is just point my camera at my subject, and it's right there. It's right there on my subject's eyes, and it's tracking my subject constantly. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only camera that has that. Almost every new camera right now can do it. But like I said, if you are spending $3,000 and above on the camera, you should know that these things actually work, because this camera just works. From the point you pull it out the bag, it just works. I know there's a new firmware update with the autofocus, and now it has the car tracking and all that stuff. I have not updated my camera yet, honestly, and I will get to that. I will definitely update my camera. But for me, it's just like the camera has always worked right out of the box. That's how amazing the camera is, the autofocus, especially for me as a portrait and a beauty photographer. So if that's something that you are worried about, trust me, you don't have to be worried. The autofocus is just amazing. It just works great. Now, let's talk about battery life for this camera. Now, when you are a photographer, you want to be able to go out with your camera and shoot a lot and not have to worry about, the battery life on your camera, right? Now, I've also heard people complain about how the battery life on this camera is not as great as the, other Canon cameras, and probably even the newer cameras from other offerings like Sony and all that. I think the battery life works well for me. Whenever I buy a camera, I always use my camera with a grip, and I have 2 batteries in there, and I have never been on a shoot where I ran out of battery, except when I forget to charge my batteries. Yeah, but my batteries are fully charged, then it just works. Now, I'm not going to be one of those YouTubers that's going to nitpick and tell you that this can get 20 more shots than this camera, and this camera can get you 80 more shots. So if you're in a scenario where you need that one last picture, this camera, nah. It just works for me. So all you have to do is just get yourself a battery grip, or even if you don't get yourself a battery grip, just make sure that your battery is fully charged, and it's probably going to last you the whole day. It depends on what you're shooting at the end of the day. If you're constantly shooting, constantly autofocusing and all that, maybe it might not last you the whole day, but I mean, it's probably going to last you a whole session. Like I said, I've never had my battery run out on me before, so it just works for me. Now, there are a few ways that you can save your battery life. You can turn off your Wi-Fi. You can turn off the continuous autofocus, so it only focuses when you're telling it to focus, because sometimes you just put your lens down and it's constantly hunting for focus. So these are a few ways that you can actually save the battery life and extend the battery life during a shoot. So put that at the back of your mind. So with every new camera, there's one thing we have to talk about, and that is the lens selection of that new system. So like the Nikon, they have the Z mount now, the Sony Alpha mount, that's the A mount, and now we have the RF mount for Canon, right? And they came out with an adapter that you can use to adapt your old Canon lenses to it. So how does it work with the Canon EOS R5? It's amazing. It is amazing. I have used my Sony 35 1.4 lens on that camera, and it's just amazing. In fact, let me put it this way. The EF lenses that used to struggle on my 5D Mark III and the 5D Mark IV, they just look like brand new lenses on this camera. Like, it's just bonkers how a camera system can transform the older lenses into new lenses. That's just how it is to me though. So if you are someone that's looking to buy this camera and you're not ready right now to invest in RF lenses, your EF lenses will work perfectly on this camera. Like I said, let's just rate this way. So in Nigeria, there's a way we rate our educational system, right? If you are, I think, over 80 to 100, you get, I think, 80 or 85 to 100, you get like A1. Then you have the B2, the B3s, the C4, C5. What is it? C6, D7, E8, F9, something like that. So F9 is like the worst. So if you are F9, then you're the worst. So if I was to rate this camera, with everything combined, I'll probably say it's A1. It's right up there. I'm not saying it's a Sony A1. I'm just saying like it's A1. Like it is well over 85%. It's probably going to be touching the 95s. There's absolutely nothing you cannot do with this camera. You can go out and shoot sports with it if you want. That's how good it is. You can shoot portraits. You can do product photography. You can do anything with this camera. As a photographer, you can literally do anything with this photographer. Maybe astrophotography. I've never done that before. Nah, but I'm just saying it is that good as a photographer. When the camera came out, there was quite a lot of I would say confusion as to what the camera was, and it was because of how Canon was marketing this camera, and I don't blame them. With the new products from other companies like Sony, Nikon, everybody coming out really hard now in the mirrorless phase, there is no way that every camera company or camera brand is not going to try and hype themselves that much. So when this camera came out, everybody, or Canon, was focusing mainly on the video specifications of this camera, and everybody just went crazy and started talking about just the video specifications of this camera, and they totally forgot about how good of a photography camera this camera is. The R5 is an amazing photographer. I'll say, to me, the best photo camera that Canon has ever released in their history. Now, I have not used the R3, and I can't wait to get my hands on the R3, but as a studio photographer, for the most part, and I shoot outdoors with natural light every once in a while, and probably even outdoors with strobes. Let me just say, as a portrait and beauty photographer, the Canon R5 is right up there. It is the best camera I have ever used till date. Now, in the nearest future, that might change. We might have newer cameras with better technology and all that, but right now, that camera is just amazing. Now, it feels like I'm just hyping this camera so much. It just works for me. Like I said, I'm not here to talk about other things that the camera can do well. Maybe if you're a sports shooter and you need faster frames per second and all that stuff. I'm just here to talk about how this camera works for me personally, and hopefully I'll be able to bring in a lot more cameras in the studio in the nearest future to compare them with my R5, and also do reviews on those cameras and tell you what I think about them. Now, let's talk about a few things that I really do not like about this camera. Now, this video is just off the top of my head. Like, I'm not writing down, I'm talking about things that I've experienced, as a photographer, because I've shot in the studio. I've shot weddings, even though it wasn't like my wedding. I wasn't the main photographer, but I've shot weddings and all that with this camera, and I can tell you off the top of my head things I love and things I don't love about this camera. So let's talk about a few things that I do not really like, and at this point I feel like it's just me nitpicking when it comes to photography. The first one is the RF lenses. Now, they are amazing and they are sharp and they are great, but RF lenses, a few of them are quite heavy. So by the time you put down this camera, it is really heavy and it weighs down, on you. Even though I love heavy cameras, I'm not trying to say that I want to carry 10 kg, all around for the whole day. So, it's quite heavy, compared to the other offerings from other camera brands. But I have my camera, I have a grip, and I have a big ass lens like the 85mm on it. So, geez, looks good, but it's quite heavy. Number two, the RF system is quite expensive. Now, while the cameras are probably the same prices that the previous, I would say, Canon DSLRs were, the system itself, if you're going to invest in the whole system, the lenses are very expensive. And this is not just a problem with Canon, it's also a problem with Sony's and the Nikons. I feel like because it's brand new technology and it's just coming out, because of the whole RNA that goes into this, it kind of like falls back on the prices, and they're quite pricey, to be honest. If you're looking to build out an amazing range of RF lenses, you're going to be spending quite a lot of money, so put that at the back of your mind. But on the flip side, the amazing thing is that the camera works great with EF lenses, so you can make do with that for now until you have enough money to invest in the RF systems. Now, the third thing I don't like about it, I wouldn't say it's the camera itself, but still on the issue of lenses, the system itself, is that we don't have third-party manufacturers making a lot of lenses for this camera right now, like how they are making lenses for the Sony A mount. So if you are using Sony maybe 5D Mark IV, sorry, 5D Mark IV. If you're using the Sony A7R4 and an A7 III, or maybe the new A7 IV that's coming out, you're probably going to have a wide range of lenses that you can select from Sigma and Tamron and probably other lens manufacturers. But for the RF system right now, you're basically stuck with the EF lenses and the RF lenses, and maybe just I don't know, maybe one or two offerings from other manufacturers. So yeah, that's about it. Do I have any other thing I would say I don't like about this camera? No, not really. I have struggled to move my files wirelessly, but I just feel like it's a thing with me. Maybe I haven't figured it out, but I wish it was a lot easier, like the whole airdrop thing on Macs and iPhones. Just simple. I wish it was that easy, but you have to download this software and do it like this and add it to this network. Yeah, I really don't like that, but maybe I just haven't figured it out. Another thing I don't like is the fact that this camera is using would I say CF Express cards, because those cards are just expensive. I know there are newer offerings that are more affordable right now, and hopefully I'll get my hands on those and test them out, but they're expensive. But at the end of the day, it's kind of new technology. I really don't know how I feel about CF Express cards. If you are a photographer, and you probably don't have to buy like the really big ones, you might be able to get away with like the 128 gigabyte CF Express cards and probably put like a 512 SD card in there and it'll work for you. But geez, those cards are expensive. But yeah, I really don't have any other thing bad to say about this camera, because it's just an amazing camera. So my verdict, if you are trying to get the Canon EOS R5 and you can afford it, man, look, that's a thumbs up. Go ahead and get the camera. The camera is nothing but amazing in my own opinion. So yeah, that's about it. I hope this was a good review of what this camera can do, because it's just a talking head, and for the most part, and it's not me in the field, like testing out every other thing this camera can do. Because if you're a photographer that shoots everything, then you can watch all those reviews and see. Look, the bottom line is they'll tell you that the camera is amazing. But if you are just a photographer that shoots portraits, beauty, weddings, then it's a great camera, trust me. One last thing I know it's kind of like, yeah, but one last thing, the file sizes are quite big. I would say they're decent for me. I think about 60 or so, but the file sizes are quite big if you're going to be using a 45 megapixel camera. That's one thing you have to put at the back of your mind, but still not as big as the file sizes from the Sony A7R4 that is, I think, about 60 or 65 megapixels. So to me, it just worked great for me. I love how beefy, like I said, the files are, and it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys loved it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If this is a camera you're looking to get, then let me know in the description below. If you are not Team Canon and you are Team Sony, like, let me know. If you are Team Nikon, like, let me know. Just messing with you guys. I like pulling my Nikon shooters. It's always so easy to pull their legs, because Nikon has been, I'll say, slacking just a little bit. But I mean, every camera company right now is on it, and I can't wait to see what everybody is bringing out, the new technologies that will come out in the nearest future. But yeah, thanks so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the comments below. Check out my digital store if you're looking to retouch better and retouch faster. The links are in the description below. Thanks so much for the support. I'll see you guys in the next video. Welcome to a new dispensation, guys. Peace out.